This is episode 212 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Control and Compound Financial. They teach real estate investors how to multiply their wealth using infinite banking strategies. For a complimentary wealth coaching session or to learn more, visit www.controlandcompound.com/Andrew Hines. Are you interested in getting started in investing in the United States but not sure where to start? Why not attend the Investing in the U.S. Mastermind hosted by myself and Nick Van Dyke on March 4th, 2023. Nick and I will be covering topics ranging from A to Z, new construction, multifamily development, Airbnb, and much, much more, as well as the basics, including opening a bank account and understanding the proper corporate structure. We'll have several keynote speakers touching on very specific topics. And most importantly, you'll be sitting in a room with people who are highly focused and highly committed to investing in the United States. For more information, visit investingintheus.com and send me a DM on Instagram for a special discount code. I'll look forward to seeing you at the event. Welcome to episode 212 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I've got Isaiah Henry on this episode, and Isaiah is a guy that reached out to me. I had a good vibe about his story. It sounded like he had an interesting one to tell. It was a really nice guy, and sure enough, he made the journey down here, and we had a chat about what he's doing in Timmins, Ontario. So Isaiah has a background in policing, and he's since switched to being an ambulance dispatch. He's a big community builder. That's one of the big things I took away from him. So he's distance investing in Timmins, Ontario, even though he lives in Eastern Toronto, and he's reaching out to local people in the community, and he's really building up his community there so that he has people that'll look out for him and help him build his rental acquisition business. So he's doing a combination of his own holds and joint ventures. We dug into the whole structure, what he's doing, and the numbers, and what's unique about Timmins. For instance, you got to shovel your roof in Timmins. Otherwise, you might get too much snow and it actually could damage your roof. So interesting stuff. It's cool to see how different markets operate differently, and certainly cash flow is one of the big pluses to going up there. So if you're interested in cash flowing rentals, this is an episode to dig into. Just before we jump into the episode, please make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave us a comment. And if you're an audio listener, make sure that you leave us a rating and review. 5 stars would be greatly appreciated just to help more people find the show. And once again, I'm going to make a special mention of REI Hot Seat, which is the sister channel to this one. It's a YouTube only show for deal analysis. So if you're interested in digging into the numbers and hearing about really cool off-market deals from our resident realtor, Jacob Campanaro, make sure you're tuning into that show weekly. Episodes usually drop on Wednesday or Thursday. So without further ado, let's jump into episode 212 with Isaiah Henry. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have Isaiah Henry on the show, and he's going to tell me how we got connected here. I know we were talking on Instagram a little bit, but Isaiah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so I've been watching or listening to the show for pretty much since I started real estate investing. We went back and forth. You put up a story, and we were talking about pro funds for a little bit.
Okay.
Then, as I got a little bit further ahead in my investing career, I said, hey, are you looking for any other guests? We went back and forth and got connected with your team, and we were able to set something up.
It's very organic. I'm going to go off on a tangent here a little bit, but my guest sourcing is actually almost never done through an agent. I have agents will contact me in an abundant number, way more than I could even respond to. And then they'll follow up with me a minimum of 4 times. And I can't even respond to them because it's out of hand.
Yeah. So imagine.
The organic, hey, Andrew, I'd like to come on is pretty much how it happens. Like, and it's not when somebody reaches out for somebody else. It's actually when that person reaches out to me. And ideally we're already connected, and then I'll go. And then otherwise it's like an invite or somebody I talk to. Also, coming out to the meetup for anybody who hasn't done that yet, like, that's a good way we can have a chat. But I appreciate the way you did it, because that way I get a guest coming on. Not everybody's heard your story.
Yeah.
And I really like that. I personally don't love it when I have somebody on who goes on 4 other podcasts, and then somehow my release date is the same as all the others.
Yeah.
I know it's different, but this is still my preference. So I appreciate that. Tell me a little bit about your story. Like, when did you start investing, and what are you into?
For sure. So in terms of investing, started in like 2017, bought a pre-con in Toronto. No idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
I think I was Yeah, I was still working at like the city pool, so I was a lifeguard.
Okay.
So I remember paper came in. I was living at home still. And there was like a little cutout in the paper, condos for like whatever it was for. And I'm out here crunching like my numbers. I'm like, oh, I make this much per hour from teaching, this much from lifeguarding.
Yeah.
Oh, I can make it work. So I call my mom. I was like, yo, we're gonna go buy a condo this weekend. She's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, let's go do it. So we went down, hooked it up, bought it. And then I didn't do anything for like 2 or 3 years. But when I wanted to get back into it, it was like a phase 1, 2, 3 kind of build.
Oh, so you bought pre-construction.
Yeah, but it was a pre-con, right? So in like the first, I bought like phase 2. So then I saw what phase 3 was going for. I'm like, holy crap, I just made like 6 figures on paper and I didn't do anything. So I'm like, oh, there's got to be something more to this real estate thing. And that's when I started diving in. And then I started actually picking up properties with like with the mindset of, hey, let's do this as a real estate investment. Let's do this to start building out there. And then, from about 2019 is when I got serious to kind of where we are now.
Okay. Yeah. It's very similar for a friend of mine who he refuses to come on the podcast, but he started a similar way. Pre-construction. Holy crap. Wow. That was really profitable. One thing leads to another, before you know it, he's, huge private lender, just doing it all, buying properties. A business partner of mine as well on a project. So nice. Like to hear those stories. Now, of course, pre-construction is not something I've invested in because it relies so much on speculation.
Exactly. And I think like you make a good point there. Like I got lucky, and I'll be the first person to say this. I definitely got lucky because like, what happened with like COVID in that bull run we had, like it was crazy. Appreciation was nuts. And even now, like I'm looking to exit that position like through an assignment, and it's not the same as if where we were pre-COVID, right? So, and there's nothing you did. Like there's no value add opportunity. There's no way for you to really control the investment. The builder has all these different rules that they can put in place. CRA, like there's so much. And now that I know what I know and actually like, how to add value through what kind of stuff I'm doing, I'm like, I don't think I'd go back to a pre-con.
I shouldn't have said such hard terms. There's always a circumstance. Yes. If it's a great deal, then of course, if I feel that there's some hedge, or if I feel like the market's already at the bottom and I have some reason to believe that it's going up. But for my strategy, I like the option where I can do value add, I can monetize in new ways, explore my opportunities. Hey, I could try it as an Airbnb. If not, I'll rent it month to month.
Exactly.
I do know there are some developers who, depending on who you're working with, like you can get, situations where you're buying a pre-co with a sort of like a rental guarantee and it's going to be rented and managed when it's done. I can see that being appealing to a certain crowd.
Yeah, 100%. I guess maybe I think I'm a little bit more active where I am in my real estate
if you're less active, that works
exactly.
well.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially because if you're working with a realtor that gets pre-co at like super discounted rates and then you're getting the managed product, then we're talking about something. But again, it's all about personal preference and what you're trying to do.
100%, man.
Yeah. Okay. So not exactly what you're trying to do now. You're much more hands-on, right?
Yeah.
That's more of a hands-off. So what are you into now then? 2019, you really got going, right?
100%. So 2019, I was like the poster boy for like shiny object syndrome. I was trying to do everything, trying to do single family, multifamily with a BRRRR, short-term rental it, as well as flipping the property at the same time. So I found out very quickly that didn't work. I started investing kind of near where I was. I'm from the Durham region. So I invested there. Moved out to Windsor when everyone was having fun out there, and I picked up a couple good deals there. But then I took my talents up north. So I went to like Sudbury and Timmins, and they call me the mayor of T-Town because that's where I do most of my damage now. That's where I'm building my business, my portfolio, and that's where we're continuing to grow for the foreseeable future.
So physically, you still live where?
Whitby, so Durham.
Whitby.
Region.
So you never moved from there, but you were doing stuff in Windsor. That's quite the distance. That's what, 5 hours?
Yeah. Windsor's like 4.5 on. I've only driven up there twice. The first time was awful because I did right through rush hour, but then the next time I did it at 4 a.m. That's the only way I'm going to do that drive.
It's a long drive.
Yeah. But it's funny to say that the most difficult property for me to manage and handle is the one in Oshawa, which is like the next town over. Yeah. But all the properties from like Timmins to Windsor, like those are so easy just because of like the way I built out the business and put systems in place.
You've got people that you can rely on, 100%. Right? Like property management, or do you have your own internal management?
So up in Windsor, it's property managed because I only own one unit out there. But up in Timmins, where like I own my units, I also have a property management company up in Timmins as well. Yeah. And I've insourced that because I was just not happy with the service I was getting from external. So I just started building my team internally. It's been really well, and now I'm able to offer property management services to other investors in that area.
Very cool. How many units do you have up there now?
We're including the ones we manage.
Sure.
Yeah, 8.
8 units up there?
Yeah, 8 units we manage up there.
Yeah. So for 8 units, does it make sense to have your own internal? I mean, how much is really needed, I guess, at the end of the day. Like you can do a lot of management remote, and then you just need your boots on the ground for what happens.
That's mostly how it's set up. So it's between myself, a VA, and a boots on the ground. That's pretty much the team that we're going with. But a lot of things that we do between the VA and myself is just build those relationships with people so that when I need to plug and play, it's not like I'm scrambling. Like we almost have it in a flow chart. If this happens, we call 1, 2, or 3. So it's very simple the way we have it. And the boots on the ground, I won't give her name out. She's kind of secretive, but she's amazing, and she loves doing what she's doing because she has another job, and this is like a part-time thing for her. So 2 part-time people give me more availability to service that property, and then as we add more to the portfolio, she can have more hours, or she can end up doing this full-time. So it's a great system, and it's going.
So it's part-time for now.
So 2 part-times. So because I don't want it to be full-time, because then I feel like I'm relying on one person. They get sick or vacation, I'm kind of down. So right now we have 2 people running part-time.
That makes a ton of sense. And I don't think you need a full-time until you really scale it up. Big. Once you're a few hundred units, and then you've got you kind of want a full-time maintenance because you're getting calls for stuff. And especially in one area, then, it might even make sense to just have somebody on salary, and then everything gets taken care of.
See, I love the idea of that. But at the same time, I'm like, and again, I'm not saying, anyone who's trying to build a massive business, I don't know if that's my goal. My goal is to reach a certain threshold of cash flow and wealth that enables me and my family to kind of do the things we want. 100 units sounds great, but it also sounds like a headache sometimes when you got to actually manage that whole thing.
Well, yeah. And I guess there's no 200 units that are equal.
Yeah, that's very true.
There's still one that was like the 100 units you wish you never owned. And then there's some people that probably have the 100 units that are the easiest to manage ever. And then they also have their systems. So it doesn't feel like they own 100 units.
Very true.
I think that's a big differentiating factor. I was always of more of the school, like, let's get less units that can produce, or, they'll be high value. And at the end of the day, that's sort of how I practice, but I was always the guy that wanted the cash flow. And so somewhere in there, and every deal you have to just look at it on its own. And is this a property I'd want to own? Is this a property I'd feel comfortable managing? Why? What are the fundamentals that I like about it? What type of tenant does it attract? That's the biggest thing, right? Can I turn this property into something that attracts the type of tenant I want to deal with?
100%. And I feel like I learned a lot from this podcast and other people talking. In the real estate community, everyone's throwing their door count. I even see it on Instagram. Oh, it's 18.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you have 18 doors that are all cash flow negative. It's not a great position to be
you could
in.
have a lot of doors, and there's so many ways that really those things should just not be compared. You shouldn't worry about what other people are doing. That said, be inspired by what other people are doing and take the good from it.
Yeah, 100%. So I think, like you said, every unit that you buy, every property that you buy it for a purpose. Make sure it hits the fundamentals, because if you're going to do a deal, you might as well just do one that's actually going to perform well than just do a deal to, add another door, another couple doors to the portfolio.
So are you just targeting single family homes mostly, or duplexes?
Yeah. So in Timmins right now, singles are still working, especially to BRRRR. They're still working really well.
So you're doing full out reno projects, BRRRRs. How deep of a renovation are you doing?
I like to say they're cosmetic, but I'm getting a little carried away now. I found a foundation guy who I like working with, so he's okay to clean up a little bit of foundation stuff. Nothing major structural, but leaks and stuff like that. We'll take it up, blue skin it or whatever. But we'll do. I would say cosmetic to medium size.
Are
renos.
You doing work that requires permit?
No, we try to stay away from anything that has a permit unless the seller is going to provide that permit for us prior to close. I had one instance where that was going to be the case, but just couldn't get it through with the
Interesting.
lawyers.
Oh, okay. You're just worried about if for some reason you can't get a permit for what you want to do.
Exactly. And just the speed aspect of it. If you think things are slow in Toronto GTA, when you go up to Timmins, it's people take naps in the office up there. It's so slow.
Oh man, I apologize for the yawning. This 1-year-old, I'll blame it on him. But I find smaller towns, they're a little bit more fast and loose, a lot less thorough.
Yes. Oh yes, I would say that.
And for that reason, sometimes things are surprisingly quick. Yeah, you can do that. Why don't you go ahead and get started? We'll get you the paperwork, stuff like that. Yeah. Whereas in, a city like London, and everything is every I is dotted, every T is crossed, stamped, every page is inspected and highlighted, and, of your permit package.
Yeah. You make a really good point there. How I'm looking to kind of scale the business in the next year or so is the goal for 2023, 10 joint venture partners, 10 great properties in Timmins. And to do that, I want to make sure that I'm accountable to everything we do it. I know the permit process. I know some of the documents that need to be done. And in Timmins and some of the smaller towns, you can get away with stuff, but I don't want in 3-4 years when, Timmins decides to really crack down on stuff. I'm like, you got all this stuff that's wrong or not structured correctly. Like, let's just take the time to do it now, especially where the price points are, advantageous for us to do that. Let's just take the time, build the system slowly. Like, I'm not in a rush. As long as things just keep going, it's that one extra unit or one extra property that you do that you didn't do well or with your systems that's going to put you in a position that you don't want to be in.
And like, do you have something in mind that you could make a mistake on, or an example of how you've made a mistake?
Yeah, so the records in Timmins are kind of like all over the place. Like, I don't know if there was like a big switch when they went from paper to digital, but stuff isn't always documented well. Like, is this actually a legal duplex? Okay, it's zoned for 3 units, but it's got like 2.5 units on it. What is the actual thing? You'll get one thing from the city that says something. The fire department will give you another piece of information. Your lawyer will give you another piece of information. So what do you go off of? So really like fleshing that out and understanding like what kind of property are we getting into? What kind of deal is this actually, to make sure that in 3, 4, 5 years, you're like, hey, no, like this is what we have. This is what you said it was. So we're on the same page. I do a little bit of wholesaling now and again. So I don't go as deep into those deals that I'm wholesaling, but I can see problems coming up with investors not doing their due diligence. And I said, hey, I'm not certifying that this is a legal like triplex.
So you're just saying, can it be used as that? That's
exactly. Yeah. And
do they have like a grandfathering methodology they use? Like if it's been used this way for this number of years, we'll allow it?
100%. But that's some of the stuff.
It's how you find the records.
Yes. You got to find the records.
What kind of records do they require? Do you know?
Usually the city has something.
Like a phone, like in London, it's like the phone records and then the tax bills.
It's got to be the tax bills. And the tax bills need to show the number of units, because in Timmins, it's not metered water. It's like set water.
It's based on number of units.
Yeah. So if you've been charged like for the last 15 years for one, but you're like, oh no, this is a 3-unit property, like the city's
going to back charge you? Will they?
No, they won't back charge you, but they won't let those 2 units be legal. So that's and then you can either change the zoning for that. And again, for some of the properties that you want to get into, is it worth doing all that for the
once you get into zoning changes, it's going to get more difficult.
Yeah. So I don't think I'm there yet in my investing career. Maybe in the future, but I think with single and small multis, like we're doing well. Cash flow is nice, so we'll keep knocking away at it.
Let's run some numbers.
Oh yeah.
We'll just maybe run through an example of like one of the ones you purchased. So, single family you purchased recently. Like, well, what's the time frame? Because obviously in the last year things have really changed.
Yeah.
Have prices come down there a bunch?
No, not significantly, because
they were never that far up.
They were never that high, right? So the market definitely changed, but I think it just slowed down in Timmins, but it didn't really move the price.
Yeah.
How are you going to move the price from like $1.50? Where are you going to move it to?
Yeah.
Right. But it's slowing down, not as many transactions or the speed, and a lot of sellers are just holding for stuff there.
All right. So 150 is your purchase price? Or?
So we'll do one of the deals I just did. Yeah. So picked it up for $1.44.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You certainly cannot rebuild that for that price. Yeah. Okay. So you're buying under the cost of replacement. I've talked about that on this podcast. I think that's a nice place to start.
Nice place to start.
Yeah. What kind of renos do you need?
We did 32 into it.
3,200?
32K.
Okay. So like cosmetic kitchen, thing like that.
Yeah, I added a bathroom in the basement, redid the bathroom up top, and then LVP paint. I wanted to redo the kitchen, but I was just going to push it. So we just repainted the kitchen, the countertop, stuff like that.
Well, that could work well too. Like a paint is actually pretty good. Like you get those old oak kitchens. Yeah. I mean, it sometimes can get a little tough covering up the grain.
Yeah.
But
we get a real good sand on it.
The right primer and paint them up. It can look real nice.
Yeah.
Why not? Okay. So who did that work for you?
That was Mark from Top Notch Contracting.
Okay. So he's a guy that operates up there?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's like my go-to guy.
So you found him. It's worked out well. I mean, for 32 Gs, that's great.
That's my guy.
Does he do a lot of work up there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I don't want to tell people because he's amazing. And he's like, and the thing is, I don't even care what he charges, just because like I've worked with other contractors. Some of them don't even take like electronic payment up there. Some of them are so bad to like connect with. Some of them can't use their phone to take a picture of the work, because obviously we're doing this virtual. But Mark goes above and beyond. Like he's like, hey, like you good to FaceTime or working on this.
Perfect.
So he's perfect. He's killing it.
Okay. So you kind of need that. My next question is how many times have you been up there?
Timmins?
Yeah.
Oh, twice.
Just twice.
Yeah. And
have you looked at all the properties you've bought?
No.
No. So a lot of them you're just doing, is Mark running through them for you?
No, so again, our boots on the ground.
Yeah, okay.
People like they're going.
They take videos and stuff for you.
Videos, pictures.
Yeah, that's all you need.
100%.
I mean, not advice, but if you know what you're doing, for me, that's all I need, depending on the property. Okay, so purchase 144, reno 32, so you're in for about 176. What will that rent for?
23.
2,300. Oops, put in 23,000. That'd be nice.
Nah, that'd be great.
Okay, what kind of tax bill there?
Under 2. I think that one's 19.
Okay, 1,900. Insurance, like what, 1,200 or something?
Insurance is $73 on a month. I think I did 75 on the pro forma.
All right, let's see how that works out. So $900 a year. Oh, that's cheap insurance. Okay. Maintenance, I'll just leave that at 5%. Utilities, you're not going to pay for anything. Nope. It's all tenants. Yeah. That's great. Management, what are you paying for management? We do it
ourselves.
Okay, so we'll just put like a 1% for your own costs in there. Landscaping and snow.
All tenants.
Okay, so leave that as a 0, and then I just leave a miscellaneous in there. Okay, so then you're all in for 176. I know these numbers are obviously going to be good. You're in Timmins. Yeah. A 12.7% cap rate, debt coverage ratio of, well, okay, I got to adjust my loan amount.
Yeah.
So what is your mortgage amount there?
Right now, I did like a rough appraisal. It came back at like 215.
Did you BRRRR it?
Oh, we're going to, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're burning. So 215 is, you're already getting that. Okay, well.
Yeah.
So we're just going to go ahead and adjust this. 215. I don't even ask people if they're BRRRRing anymore. I'm like, okay, so you're just leaving the money in there then? But BRRRR's still working. It's always good to hear that.
Yeah.
So if you do 80% on that, you'll get 172.
Yeah.
So which would be roughly what you have in. You have 176 into it.
Yeah, so leave a little bit in.
Yeah. Okay. And then your amortization on that's going to be likely 30 years. Yeah. What interest rate do you figure you'll get?
When I refi?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, like 6.5.
6.5. Let's see. So your mortgage payment still at 6.5%, only 1,077. Cash flow 786.
On a single family home.
Not a bad thing to have in the portfolio, right? One more house, especially if you've got a bunch in one area. You know, just consistently making it work. I guess in these price points in that area, like it wouldn't even make sense to try and add units. You're better off just continuing to buy individual houses.
That's a big thing because everyone's like, oh, you got to go multi. I was like, yeah, but like the cost, like, you know, duplex conversion, because like, you know, this property, I was actually looking at it as a conversion because it has a back entrance that goes right downstairs. It worked well.
But to build that additional unit, you're going to spend what, 150?
It's still going to be 150 rental. I can buy a brand new duplex for 250. Like I have a duplex closing in end of January for 250.
So then you're at 125 a unit, which you would be way more on this, right? Because if you figure you're 215 on the single, how much value are you adding with the second?
Exactly.
Like, it's not going to be worth 300, or 350, but you're putting in that much.
100%. And that was the big drawback. And the tenant quality that I'm getting on that single family home is amazing compared to the tenant quality that I would get if I split it up into 2 units, right? Because Timmins right now, they're crying for like 3-4 bedroom homes. Like that house we're talking is a 4-bed, 2-bath home, right? So that's a really nice property.
So it's a very desirable house.
Yeah, and in one of like the A+ neighborhoods.
See, that's great. Like I would want to own that type of property. Exactly. Like I'm going to attract the better tenant, and that's going to allow you to keep your hairs in and not go so gray.
100%.
Okay, so that's a good example. Is this a typical deal for you?
Yeah, I would say so now. In terms, that's one that I took down myself, like my personal portfolio. So DCR wise, I think I'm getting pretty close to what I'm doing. So now anything personally, I'll probably do in the commercial side. But with JV partners, I still think there's some really good opportunities in the single to small multifamily space. And that's the goal for 2023.
What do you mean personal? Oh, you just don't have a partner on it.
Yeah, no partner on it. Yeah.
Are you doing these, like what kind of lender are you using for these? Are just like A bank right now?
Yeah, all A banks. Okay. I did a couple privates with some deals in Southern Ontario when I started just to move money faster. But, you know, up in Timmins, things are still working well with A lender.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, no, of course, but eventually you kind of hit a point with them, right? And then of course you're clogging up your personal credit if you ever want to buy a home for yourself or whatever. You already have your own home or you?
No, I'm a big on the renter chain.
I always did that.
Yeah,
too.
I'm big on the renter chain.
Okay, so that's where you might one day regret it. So this is why I tell people, and I don't give advice, but if I were to, look at the average investor, if people are going big on their number and their goal, like, hey, I want to do hundreds of units, it probably makes sense to consider a corporation. 100%. Just because you're not going to want to have that all over your credit. With that said, your JVs, how are you structuring those?
So I do have a corporation, and the corporation is the one
is the partner
on those.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your corporation partners in on those, so it doesn't affect you personally. Of course, you're doing some sort of joint venture agreement that that the banks are okay with. There is a way to do that, I'm told, where the banks are okay with them.
Yeah.
Because the fundamental difference I heard from Sean Quigg when he came on was that it's an amount equal to. So you're not giving them the interest in the property, but giving them an interest in an amount that's equal to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And apparently that just does all the difference.
100%. And, that's the same law firm that I did.
Carson?
Do most of my JV stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So again, not advice. Like, talk to your lawyer. That's just what I heard. I thought that was very interesting. You can listen to that episode. I forget what number it is, but Sean Quigg was on. Okay. Yeah. Very cool. So you're structuring your JVs that way. Sean's or somebody in his firm's been helping you out. That's cool to know. Did you hear about him on the show?
No. So I was involved in a real estate like a mentorship group, and he came on, did a couple talks. There, and I was able to reach out to him. I think he's the real estate lawyer on Instagram.
Yeah, he brands himself as the
so
real,
I just
real
hounded
estate
him
lawyer.
on Instagram. I'm like, hey, let's do this deal. And he's a busy guy, so getting some FaceTime with him was good. Yeah. And then he's like, I actually have a deal, like I'm going to do this, because I feel like a lot of people reach out to him. And again, I'm not saying don't reach out to people on Instagram, but some people hey, I just want to talk. He's like, I don't have time to talk. Like, are we doing stuff? So it's great. Like, I have a deal. Like, I really want to do this JV. Like, it's either going to be you or another lawyer, and I'd love it to be you. So he's like, okay, this is good. So we were able to kind of talk about that and like some other real estate
So he gave
stuff.
you an agreement. Does he do every single one, or do you just adapt the agreement?
No, every single one. Like, part of my JV process is like myself and the joint venture partners will talk and say, this is what I want the agreement to look like. We'll sit down with Sean. Sean will rip it apart. Yeah. And then we'll go back, do some homework, and then we'll come back and finalize it.
Okay. So that's probably a good way to dot your I's, cross your T's, make sure everybody's on the same page. So how do you structure your JV, like if you're doing a deal like that?
Great. So there's two ways that I've been running right now, and I've kind of given it to the investors. So simple 50-50 split. Investor or passive partners bring all the down payment, closing, renovation costs. We split the cash flow 50-50, split the equity 50-50, and then any refinance or sale, they get their money back prior. And then the other way that I have been structuring it lately is 75-25. So the passive partner gets 75% interest in the property. I get 25% interest. There's also an asset management fee on that as well. And then again, we still split this cash flow 75-25. So a little bit more equity for the partner there, with a little less cash flow coming to them month to month, versus if you want a little bit more cash flow and you don't care about the equity, we probably go to the 50-50 split.
Okay, interesting. So yeah, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this from a JV standpoint, is like, not everybody wants cash flow.
Yeah.
Some people don't want any at all. Depends on what their income scenario is. Some people are in it for the long-term wealth. In today's market, I feel like a lot more are just going to take the cash flow. Yeah. Just know, you don't really know what equity is going to do in the near future. And what's your estimation when you talk to people and work out a deal with them? What's your estimation of how long they're going to be at a deal for?
So we minimum 5 years. I won't do anything shorter than 5 years. Yeah.
So you just say, well, here's our plan. We'll evaluate after 5 years what we want to do.
100%. And I keep them up to date. Like, I pride myself on my investor communications and really giving them a vision for the project, for the business. Like, this is where I want to go. And I've had a couple people say, hey, like, let's do something. But we were just so unaligned on where we wanted to take things. I was like, I don't think this is going to work. I don't even want to see what it's going to be in 5 years. So let's just not even bother getting ourselves together. Because you don't need 50 partners. You need like...
Well, no, I was asking. You said 10 new partners and 10 new JV, or 10 new deals, 10 new JVs. Yeah. Why 10? Why not one partner to do 10 deals?
Because I don't want to keep the wealth small. So like, kind of for me, like, I didn't come from like, I'm not going to give you a story like, rough on the streets background. No, I had a really good upbringing. Parents showed up. But I just wanted to kind of spread the wealth. Like, once I kind of figured it out, I'm like, man, I got to tell everybody about this. So, and I love people. Like, I know some people like a little too many cooks in the kitchen. I would rather work my business harder to facilitate 10 people. And, I'd love to have those relationships rather than just having one guy. We do 10 deals. Yes, it'd be easier to manage, but I want to spread it out.
Okay. I mean, you never know. Like, those 10 people could do 10 more deals. So
100%.
that could be cool too.
Yeah.
Interesting. Just looking at your deal again, because I forgot to really look at what's the total return. And that's something that you really got to look at these days. So if you figure even 0% appreciation, just stagnant over the next 5 years, that still looks to be about 25%.
Yeah.
ROI.
Not a bad little deal.
Just between the yearly pay down and your cash flow. Cash flow be the big part of that. Yeah. And one of the things you could play with is, would it make sense or would it potentially increase your return to pay down a little quicker? I am going to look at that. So if you go to a 25-year M, instead of being $1,077 mortgage payment, it ends up being a $1,152. But what's your overall return? Return looks the same. You're just paying down an extra $1,200 a month. I'm just thinking from an equity standpoint down the road, if you don't know what's going to happen to value, it's great to know your mortgage is paying down.
Yeah, a little bit faster. The thing, I think it would maybe if your loan is a little bit bigger, I could see that. But like the loan amounts in Timmins, especially what I'm dealing with now, are so small. Like, put on 30, 25. Like,
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to keep long term, none of that matters.
Yeah, right. I'm going to be fine. Like,
people are probably still people are still coming to Ontario in large number, right? Immigration is still a thing. Why Timmins? Obviously, most people's answer starts with, the cash flow. But why Timmins? What do you like about that town?
100%. So a couple reasons why I got up there. So I worked in Sudbury for 6 months.
Okay.
And I was going to be a Sudbury
And that's
guy.
an hour away?
Oh, no, a little bit more.
Hour and a half away from Sudbury?
Timmins is 7.5 from Toronto.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So how far from Sudbury is Timmins?
Oh, 2.5.
2.5? Okay.
Yeah. So I worked in Sudbury a little bit, and I wasn't really into real estate at the time, but I was kind of looking around, and prices were really low. So when I got into it, I'm like, I'm going to Sudbury. I already know the area. Did a couple wholesale deals, tried to find something, but there's a lot of competition. That was right at the height.
Yeah, well, that's Robbie Clark's playground.
100%, right? And I wasn't a big player.
I think he's in Timmins too, though.
Oh, he's doing a little in Timmins.
Yeah,
too.
have you ever run into him?
Yeah,
and stuff.
Yeah, he's got way more firepower than me. I said, hey man, slow down. I'm trying to catch up. But it's all good. I think there's enough that we can all eat up there. So anyway, I went up to Timmins and I was just kind of looking where my income stood and what I was able to do. I had the skills to be a real estate investor. I just didn't necessarily have the funds to do it down here. So I just took the same skills that I had here from the deals I've done in Southern Ontario and just went up there, did some value add opportunities, found some good properties, some off market, some on market, and I was able to do it. But the thing I like about Timmins, it still has the fundamentals that I like. Population is small, and I will take that. That's
one stagnant population as well.
Yeah,
it's not going up, not going down.
Not going up, not going down. So I will take that L. So everyone can come after me for the market there. But it's driven by mining, forestry. It has 2 post-secondary educations. It's got a major hospital there. So the town is still firing. They got full. It's not even like. Some smaller towns like OPP does I used to be a police officer. So OPP does a lot of smaller towns, and that's kind of an indication that it is a smaller town. But Timmins has its own police service, which says something about it. They also need their own police service because crime's not awesome in some of the areas of in Timmins.
It's a little rougher.
Oh yeah, if you go right by Algonquin, which is the main street that runs through the town, any street 1 or 2 up, 1 or 2 down, I would try and stay away from. And then even the outskirts, it's called Schumacher. Not the best, but oh my goodness, the cash flow, if you can get a place and it's running well, the cash flow you can get in some of those places. I know single family homes doing $1,000+ cash flow a month.
That's nice when you can get that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want the headache.
The headache, that is the thing. The headache will make you want to stop.
There were always places in London on Hamilton Road that I looked at. I'm I could really make some cash flow down there, and I'm not going to do that.
It's not worth
not that there aren't people who love that model. I know Mike Rosehart, that was his playground down there. But you will deal with a certain type of tenant, and you will have to cater your business accordingly.
Yes, exactly.
So if you choose what kind of tenant do I want to serve?
100%.
And so obviously you're staying away from that spot. How many people do live in Timmins? Is it a 30,000, 40,000?
42K.
42. Okay. Yeah. So not that small.
Not that small. Yeah. And there's room because if you look at Timmins on a map, you see a lot. You can grow Timmins as big as you wanted. If obviously not towards the mine, but
it's nickel mining.
Yeah, nickel up there. Yeah.
Anything else they mine or?
They got a couple other stuff, but nickel's their bread and butter. And they just opened another, or just had plans for another mine they're going to dig there. So they're going to be mining up there for.
Oh, there's new exploration.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
so if you look at Timmins on a map, kind of the northeast side, that's where the mines are. And then, but if you go southwest or south or northwest, there's a lot of room that you can still kind of grow out if they wanted to there. I don't know if they have the population or infrastructure to do so yet, but I just know the opportunities there. But I'm okay, even if it stays at 40. I'm okay and I'm comfortable being in that market.
Yeah, just looking at, are people really building new houses in Timmins? I would guess not. No. So that's not really happening. That won't happen until more people start coming to the area. So maybe new mining projects would cause that to happen.
Yeah.
And then at that point, now all the existing houses have to come up to match the cost of new construction.
Yeah.
If and when that happens.
100%.
So time will tell, right? If that new mine opens up and, I don't know how many new employees they're going to need.
Yeah. And they bring a lot in. So like that's another thing, because the thing I like about the income is you get all these young guys with their girlfriends. They come in, they go to Dodge, they buy a $150,000 truck. They're making like $75 an hour at the mine, but they know they're only going to be in Timmins for 2 to 3 years. So they don't want to buy, but they have a ton of disposable income. They want a nice place to live, a nice place to kind of park their truck. So they'll pay like really high rents. I got a property in Oshawa that is lower, that's rented lower than some of the properties I have in Timmins, which is crazy, right?
So do you
and
have
I love
some nicer
that model.
places in Timmins as well? Like,
Yeah, there's like $1 million homes in Timmins.
Yeah.
Like there's this one place like I really want to buy. It's like a cottage property. It's like one of these beautiful Muskoka style cottages on the lake up in Timmins for like $700K. So there's a lot of very nice properties up there. But they don't get the love because there's not a lot of people who can afford to actually buy those properties in Timmins. Because those people who can buy it usually don't buy in Timmins. They'll just rent because it's so much cheaper to do so.
I think Elizabeth Kelly's up in that area too, isn't
Kirkland
she?
Lake.
Kirkland Lake. So how far is that from there?
About an hour and a half.
Hour and a half?
Yeah, a little bit
Okay.
more north.
That's a smaller town.
That's a smaller town there.
Any thoughts on that one? Did you consider that town?
100%. Oh yeah. Especially when I was running out of money, I'm like, man, I gotta go to Kirkland Lake. But I took a step back. I was like, hey, Isaiah, we're really building some good systems, a good team here. Why just chase like the cash flow? Why don't we try to build something?
Yeah, build
something
there.
else there. So yeah, Timmins. I'll go as far as like South Porcupine, but that's kind of where I'm staying.
Okay, I'd have to look at a map to see what's south.
Yeah, sorry.
South Porcupine
There's a
is.
couple of smaller towns just west.
Interesting names. They sound weird to hear, but I mean,
It's
I'm
funny
sure to
because like,
them
that's
it's like,
all
that's super normal.
all I talk about. And then I talk to like people investing in like Burlington or Hamilton, and they're talking about Hamilton. I'm like, what is that? Which I should. It's just down the road, but
I'm sure you speak to an American about like our little towns, Guelph, Burlington.
Yeah.
Where?
What?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so obviously there's a lot of opportunity up there. There is a certain risk factor. I think there's a certain inconvenience factor that kind of builds that return because it's so far out. Like it's very cold there, probably. Like
you got to shovel your roof in you got to work that into your numbers. Like you got to shovel your roof
shoveling
because
there's too much snow builds up on it.
Snow
Because it never melts, right? It just stays too cold up there.
Too cold, right? Especially if you have a flat roof, like that's something you really need to take account of. Single family homes, you're okay, just they're angled better, but bigger multis, like you should probably work that into your numbers.
Do they have higher slope roofs there?
Yes.
Like, because down here you'll find people have a 412 for anyone who knows what that means, or a 612 means for every 6 inches of run it goes up 12. So yeah, I mean those maybe you'd see higher slopes up there just to kind of get the snow off of it.
Heated roofs, like there's different even like services that will come to do like treat your roofs differently, like to put like de-icer on them, so like the snow when it hits it doesn't stay, like it tries to melt quickly. There's a whole different the winters. You just need to understand Timmins winters, because that's a whole nother ball game you're playing than here. Like they had snow in like October.
Yeah, that's not fun,
right? So, and if you're not playing that game, like I was working with a client and he was doing some renovations, so he had no one in the property, and I told him like, hey, you need to budget for snow removal. He's like, oh no, it's fine, it won't snow. And I said, no, we need to. And he didn't really do it. And I showed him the pictures. I'm like, hey man, like I'll take this myself if I have to, but like we can't have anyone in the property. There's like 4 feet of snow.
Yeah, so Timmins snowfall. So tenants are just good with it to clear their own snow, though. They know they've
100%. Yeah, and they know, because like most of the tenants there have been there a good while. I always provide at least a shovel, and then I'll do like at cost for a snowblower. Like especially if you're getting into these single family homes, like they want it to be nice. You just add it like as they sign the lease. That's when I do all the add-ons. Like I try to. Yeah. That's a little the business side of me comes out when I do a lease. Like, I sell everything at the top end of that lease. I'll sell cleaning supplies, sheets, like I'll give them a whole list of stuff they can just check. And then when they move into the house, it's there. Make a little bit, on it there.
Interesting.
So yeah.
I never heard anybody doing that, but that's affiliate, a smart idea.
Put all your affiliate links too. They can just click everything there. Yeah.
I have everything you might need when you move into the house. Here you go. Here's 100%. Your welcome package.
Boom.
That's not a bad idea. I never did that with the students, but I tried to automate things for them. But yeah, selling them stuff. Yeah. There you go.
And then another thing that I found really good is like, because obviously I'm not from Timmins, and like I don't look like I'm from Timmins. And I only say this because I've done the diversity studies. There's not a lot of black guys in Timmins.
Yeah.
So it was very like when I was connecting over the phone, it was hard because sometimes I'd go on a video call with someone and I'd see their face like, oh, like it's okay. But what I've done to connect is like, hey, like I call like burger shops, I'm calling pizza places, hair salons. And I let them know, I'm like, hey, my name's Isaiah, I'm an investor, First Position Real Estate, that's my company. We have tenants coming in. Would you like to offer like coupons or newsletters that we can add to their welcome package? They get excited. They give us a couple coupons. We add it into the welcome package. And now I have that relationship with them. Because let's say I'm ever in a gym, I'll be like, hey, Nelly at the salon, I'm in a jam, like, do you know anyone? Yes, Isaiah, I got all these people. And they just send me them. And now I'm like this guy in Toronto who's making all these really cool relationships, but valuable relationships with these guys in Timmins. So
yeah, so walk me through your background. What led you to this? You said you're doing policing.
Yeah.
Like, what'd you go to school for? Like, when? Give me the timeline.
Yeah, for sure. High school, big into sports, got a rugby scholarship, went out to Laurier, played rugby for 2 years, coach left, played football for the next 2 years, got that dual sport athlete designation, got a degree. I was like, hey, I'm going to be a cop. Like, that's all I wanted to do, law enforcement. Got on with Metrolinx, one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life. Looking back, I don't know why I left. But anyway, I really wanted to be a cop. Got on with Toronto, did that for a year and a bit. Just wasn't it. I don't know if it was my assignment or maybe I wasn't a big city guy, but I just wasn't enjoying it there. So I resigned from that. Now I'm an ambulance communication officer. So still in the emergency services field, still in the government field. And did that there. My biggest thing is how I really dove into real estate. I was seeing these guys as like, cops. I'm like, you guys are 35 years in, you're still working, like you look tired. And again, this isn't me like taking a jab at older police officers, but I was like, man, this is not a life I want to live. Like 30 years in, at the kind of income you're making, like you guys should be living immaculate lives. And I wasn't seeing that. So I was like, this might be something that needs to change.
You're saying like just the job itself was like wearing on them?
Oh yeah, even me. And I was young and maybe a little bit more entitled than some of the older guys who've really worked for that. Like you came in
just from stuff they've seen, what they have to deal with.
Exactly. Right. Like the amount of bodies I have on my, like that I've seen or that I've dealt with, like even in my 4-year law enforcement career, that's more bodies than most people will ever need to see in their entire life. And I had, potentially another 20 years of that. And I was like, is this the best way to make 100K, or is there other ways that I can build wealth for myself and my family? Kind of really relooked at the real estate thing and said, hey, let's do this and then put a life together that makes sense. So this, the ambulance communication officer with the real estate is working really well to kind of grow and get where I want to be.
Like, are you shift work?
Oh yeah. And I love it.
So is it rotating, or like how does that work?
So I have it set up where I'm like part-time, but you just pick up all the hours that you want. And I love it because I work like nights most of the time. Like I worked nights last night and I feel like I get 1.5 days out of every day. Most people work 9 to 5 when everyone else works 9 to 5. So it's really hard to coordinate stuff. So but now since I work the nights, everyone else working 9 to 5, I get them from like 2 to 5. So I'm available, they're available. I can do anything I want, showings, calls, blah, blah, blah. And then when everyone else is asleep, I go to work, get my stuff done, take care of all my admin on my night shifts, get back, sleep a little bit, get back to work. And
so you have some time to take care of some tasks you need to get done that are your own, not outside of work while you're at work?
100%. Yeah. Like just the break schedule and like, the lower call volume at nights, like, obviously I'm not on the phone dealing with contractors, but I can set the amount of systems I've set up there
while you're working. That's actually interesting. It almost forces you to work. Like I am here, can't be on the phone. Like let's just get some stuff done.
Let's just get some work done. Like I come out of like a night shift and I've done so much, and then like I'm at home and I'm almost like lazy because I'm like I don't have to work as hard because I know I got 12 hours coming up tonight, and I'll bang it out there. So.
Yeah. So what hours do you work typically? Like what's a night shift?
Like 6 to 6.
6 to 6.
Like
okay, so 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't get that much sleep. When did we start?
Yeah.
3?
Yeah, 6. That's okay. I'll sleep later.
You'll sleep later. Yeah, you're okay with that. So you have to do what? 3 of those in a week? 4 of those in a week?
Yeah, so 3.5 in a week. So if what I try and do is 2 12s and 1 16. Yeah. Just keeps the less days I have to go in.
Yeah, that makes 40 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes 40 hours. Keeps my mortgage guys happy. So they can write everything down how they need to. But, just going forward, I feel like there's some other opportunities coming. Like the property management business is growing. Businesses adjacent to the real estate are growing as well. So I'm excited for the future. Yeah. And, this keeps me a little bit more flexible as well.
Oh, for sure. It helps you qualify too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what's the goal with all this? Like how far do you want to go? Like when are you looking to quit the job?
I thought like when I left Toronto, I was like, oh, I got to quit my job. I got to be full-time real estate. And then, after speaking with some people, especially my dad, we've had some really good conversations over the year. I don't think I want to be like a full-time investor. Just the stress, because even like, I'm sure you've done a renovation project and things go wrong. Like that's a lot of stress. And especially when your livelihood comes off that directly, I'd like to get to a position where I'm like part-time optional. I don't really have to work, but I have this part-time job that I go to optionally that one lets me network with people that aren't directly real estate wise, but I still have a big focus on real estate to kind of grow my my wealth and my business. And I can go to the cottage a couple times in the summer.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy, and I don't want to give his name because I don't want to throw him under the bus, but his particular job allowed him to basically have like, he works an 8-hour shift. He's got like 7 hours of time. He can just do whatever.
Nice. Yeah, that's perfect.
So he just gets stuff done, does like side work while he's at work. I mean, if you have a job like that, why would you want to get rid of that?
Right.
Like, use that to be productive, doing what you need to get done, build your business. I mean, down the road one day, if you just absolutely don't need it and you don't like it, then sure, get rid of it. But I mean, I think a lot of people are in a big hurry to just quit their jobs. And you have to look at the quality of life you're after. Like, what is it that you're trying to do? Because maybe that job isn't the worst thing, but I think being dependent on that job almost universally is.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you just never know what might happen. You might, your job might be in jeopardy one day, and that's your stream of income.
Yeah.
So for that reason, diversify.
Big time. I think, and sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no problem.
So I was listening to Bigger Pockets. Like David Green made a great comment. So a lot of these 20, and I'm under 30, so all these 20-year-olds, including myself, big rush to quit their job, be financially independent. Great. So let's say you do it. Let's say you built this big business and you're done at 25. What are you going to do? Like all your friends are still working. Your family's probably still working. Like, do you have enough people to do that? Like, what does it look like when you're 55?
You gotta hang out with other people who do the same thing.
Yeah, like
and go on a million vacations a year, like Kellen Panicha does.
Exactly, right? So it's not bad, and I'm not saying if that's your goal, great, go ahead and do it. But are you leaving stuff on the table in terms of like the person you're going to become, like going through it? Like you don't, maybe the destination is important, but it's not the most important. Like that person you become, like think about all the stuff like you've gone through, that I've gone through, like on your way to building that real estate business. That's the cool stuff. Like, I'm in the business right now. We're having this podcast. Like, this is the cool stuff, not like, necessarily, being 20 and, having tons of money to do whatever you want.
Yeah. What do you do with all that free time? You got to have a plan for that.
Yeah, you got to have a plan. Like, what did you build a business? Do you have something you're passionate about to put this time and money into? So,
yeah. Some other ones that come to mind, Jeremy Ivany and Taylor Sears, like they're, sort of, they run their real estate business, but there's a lot that they don't need to do. I remember talking to Jeremy about like when he kind of fired himself from working physically at the jobs and, went from golfing once or twice a year or whatever to golfing like multiple times a week.
There you go. Yeah.
That sounds fun.
That sounds amazing. That sounds good.
Yeah. So definitely got to put it in perspective. So are you writing down specific goals? Like how do you structure? I mean, I guess it just comes down to getting stuff done at work.
Yeah.
And then as far as the goals you're looking for, do you have a number of units?
Definitely not a number of units, because that's a dangerous game to play. Just again, because you really fight the unit count. Like, are we getting good quality units? Like, are you getting a cash flow? Like for me, it's a cash flow goal at this point. I can build I still have stuff in Southern Ontario that's growing, and those are going to be my equity plays. Whereas right now it's just a cash flow. Yeah, position.
So that's a cash flow market, of course.
100%.
I don't think you can really bank on much appreciation anyway.
No, and even I underrate at like 1% appreciation in those deals there. But if you can get to a cash flow position that's comfortable, it kind of lets me explore other things. Like two of the initiatives that I really love about my business now is I have a scholarship program and a co-op program, and those are two things that I'm super passionate about. And if I never made another buck in real estate, but those two things went well, then I'd be A-okay.
Hang on, you have a scholarship program?
Yeah.
That you are running in your company?
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Yeah, sure. So kind of stemmed from the co-op. There are kind of two things. So my co-op program is I work with a local high school. I get one co-op student a term, and they work directly in the business. Like I entrench them in everything, marketing, sales, lead generation. Like even one of the wholesale deals I did last year, direct reflection of my co-op student. I was so proud of her. She did amazing, like followed up with the lead, like let me know. It was like working the lead, talking to them and getting information. And then we closed, and I'm not allowed to pay her, but I took her out to a nice lunch, and I'm like, hey, this is you. Like, it's my business, but like you facilitated this. And I think it was really eye-opening for her. And I think that's important to me because when I was young, I didn't have that. I had a really bad experience. Like I had a business idea and I went to someone who was I really admired in business, and he pretty much like threw the book in my face and said, yeah, right, buddy. And I felt defeated. And I said, I will never, ever have kids not have an opportunity to do that. So by doing the scholarship program, I'm going to work with people. They get a show.
So you're allowed to give a scholarship. That's sort of what you're doing. Are you doing that for your co-op students? They get the scholarship?
So they don't. They can qualify for it. 9 times out of 10, they usually get it because they've been working with me. But there's still a qualification process that we do through the school. And then throughout the year, like different investors that I talk to when I talk about the scholarship program, we get donations there, and then I try and match them at the end of the year. And however big that pot is, I usually give maybe one. Like last year, we were fortunate enough we got 2. My goal is to give maybe 4 next year to kind of help some people out get started.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And scholarships to do what? Is for college, university?
Yeah. So they got to be post-secondary education. Doesn't have to be real estate focused, but it has to be some interest in either business or entrepreneurship.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And as far as the co-ops go, that's an interesting angle. Are you able to find, like, I mean, you said she worked out well. Is that generally what you see, like the co-op students are very helpful? Is it sort of like you don't have huge expectations and they do deliver a bit?
Yeah. So, I've had one that was like, she should work in a Fortune 500 company now, like as of grade 12. And I've had others that I'm like, this is more work. That's more, right. So you kind of get both, but going into it, I kind of know that, and it really depends. So there's a bunch of things that I know they're able to do, and we kind of start them nice and slow. And between them and my VA, like we kind of work them through the process. And if they're really biting in and getting deep into it, like we just keep pumping them. But if they're having a tough time or we don't really see them engaged, we kind of give them more minimal service level tasks that still get them involved, but like understand, hey, if you're not going to put effort in, we're not going to put effort out into like really supporting
that's
that
just the challenge I see like lately, and like just between people we've hired for various different things, not specifically in my real estate business, but there's just like a different mentality now, like the old guard, like even for like nannies or people helping out, like cleaners and such, like I like the like 60 plus, like they work hard. They work really hard.
Yeah.
And then you see the younger crowd, and it's obviously nothing is a perfect rule. Like we've had some great experiences too, my wife and I, but it's not, generally speaking, hasn't been the same experience. Like a little more entitled, as you pointed out, and I'm not quite ready to work hard.
Yeah.
Like work a little, then we'll call it good.
100%. And I think maybe it's a culture thing because my dad and I were talking about it. So my dad was my football coach when I was a little bit younger. Then obviously I went up. So he was still coaching after like I left, and he's like, man, these kids they're not the same. And again, I'm not taking a dump on all these kids, but he's like, you can definitely see the mentality shift. Like we would go there, coach would be like, running. I remember one coach said, run until I remember that you exist. And that was like, I was just like, okay, like we'll just start running. Like, I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel attacked, but that same coach said that same line to someone else, and his parents came and is like, don't talk to my kid like that. And he's like, I'm not belittling your kid.
The snowflakes.
Telling you. So it's a different time that we're going into.
Very much so. So that's why, I mean, even for our camp, like we've got a few people that are like definitely in the 55 plus category. Nice. And we love them.
Yeah, they're
like
great.
they work hard, and like the value system, and not to say that you can't find great kids. I think that with what you're pointing out in the co-op program, I would really want the opportunity to interview them thoroughly. And
yes, and we can. So I put a lot of it on the school. Like I give them stipulations and stuff. But once I get one, it's like a 2-day that I kind of do.
2-day evaluation before you decide whether you want to keep them or not.
100%.
You need that.
Yeah,
you need that. Yeah.
Right? Because especially like to put a lot of time and effort into it. Like you're like let's just see if we can get someone that's actually going to work rather than me working for them.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Okay, so if somebody else wanted to potentially have a co-op student come work in their business, like can you give any pointers for our audience?
Yeah, do it immediately. Like I see guys spending so much money. I'm like, man, high schools, they're free. Like, they don't cost any money.
Might cost your time, but yeah, if you do a good job vetting them,
and do your systems first. I feel a lot of people do their systems after they get someone. Figure out what you want them to do. Put your systems in, whether it's like actual like written or video. Mine's all video like training.
Yeah, I like video trainings.
Yeah, 100%. So do that so you know what they're gonna do, and then let them go. But very simply, go reach out to I walked into the high school, said, hey, this is me, this is Isaiah. Here's my driver's license, criminal record check. I'm not crazy. And then you just sit down with the co-op student and they're dying to have it, especially virtual opportunities now.
Is that what you're doing? Virtual opportunities?
Yeah, like I think I've been to the school once just to
So
kind of
your
show
students
face.
aren't coming to you, like you're just doing it all virtual?
Oh, virtual. Yeah, they have a certain time they check in. We use ClickUp as our task manager, and then we just communicate over in a WhatsApp channel. And yeah, they just send me like, hey, like, getting started. If there's a meeting, we'll do it like, if I'm on the go, we might do a live meeting over WhatsApp, or if I'm at the computer, Google Meet. And
how are you finding like written communication skills? Like, are they good?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Because these guys grew up on technology, so for them this isn't like that weird.
Yeah, but proper English, not slang, like
Ooh, I don't
emojis.
I don't let them do a lot of copy.
Like outbound emails. Yeah, copy. Yeah.
I don't let them do like, and not let them. It sounds like, oh, don't do this, but they might do they need to prove it. Like the first co-op student I had, she could do everything. Like she could write, she could edit, this girl was amazing. I'm like, how are you in high school? But then, I've had other co-op students who weren't so strong in English. So maybe they're like, let's do more graphics, or maybe you're better on the phones, or maybe you're just like very admin, like task oriented.
And what will you get them doing on the phone? Like coordinating things or cold calls or what?
Just like either like follow-ups for contractors, and like a lot of relationship building like happened through my co-op student. I'm like, hey, I need you to call every burger place in Timmins this week, tell them this, write a little script for them, and then take notes on each call. And then, I just kind of review the notes. And if anything popped off, maybe I'll jump in the call or anything. But yeah, great way to save face. And even I remember one cleaner said, oh, like, do you still have that, I won't say her name, but do you still have that girl, Emily, working for you? She was so kind when she called. I'm like, oh yeah, like, and then we catch up on that now. And that's another relationship piece. Like, that co-op student's now in university, and like, oh yeah, she's doing well. And she's like, oh, that's great. That's great. Okay, well, call me, Isaiah, if you need anything. Boom. Just had like another
awesome
notch in that relationship.
You're really getting on the relationship building. I like that.
Yeah, that's it.
And that can just yield so many dividends. So that's great.
All wholesale deals, that's how I got. Every wholesale deal I have has been off those
somebody
weird
just
relationships.
Reaching out to you. Yeah.
Like, hey, yeah, this person wants to sell, like, no question.
Do you say anything to them? Hey, I buy houses. You just tell them that?
Sometimes.
But how do they even know? How do they even know to call you?
They usually just say, hey, you still do the real estate thing, right? That's like the go-to line I get. You still do the real estate thing, right? I'm like, oh yeah. Like, do you buy houses? I'm like, yeah, for sure. And then that's how the lead. Not even like, because in Timmins, they're very standoffish against like aggressive like marketing. Yeah. Like flyer campaigns, guerrilla marketing, especially if they see that 905 416 number. No, they have no time for you. That is like a hard pass. Yeah. So, but yeah, once you're able to make those relationships, I feel like stuff flows a lot easier.
Very cool, man. I like it. You've dropped quite a few gold nuggets here today.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
It's awesome. Where do people find you?
I'm on Instagram at It's Mr. Henry, and my YouTube channel is starting out and growing really well at First Position Real Estate, all one word. Okay. I got lots of content up there, so those are the best places to find me. Awesome. And any words of wisdom you want to share before we wrap up? 100%. Just go out there and get what you want. It doesn't always have to be exactly scripted the way that society tells us. If you're interested in something, real estate, business, sports, athletics, go out there and get it. Yeah, you got to do it. Yeah. Also got to make it work practically. Yeah, make it work practically, but go get it. Now, quick follow-up question to that. So if somebody wants to be a dancer, I mean, would you say go do that, or would you say go build your real estate so that you can have the time to do that? No, I would say go be a dancer. Go be a dancer? I feel like the people in real estate who are doing really well, we're going to do well in real estate regardless. Like, I feel like if you're really pushing yourself to do it and you're like, I don't really like this at all. Yeah. Like, you're going to have a tough time because you're going to go through some stuff. You're not going to love it. So maybe be dancing. Be so good at dancing that's where you make your income, and then go find me or you and let's invest in real estate that way. So if you like it, go do it and you'll be able to grow there. I think multiple streams. So maybe do that and real estate, do a couple other things. Yeah. Like, obviously everyone has to make it, make dollars and cents at the end of the day, but that's cool. All right, man. I appreciate you coming over. Thank you so much, man. It's nice to meet you. And we'll stay in touch. Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Please make sure to share this episode far and wide. Help more people. I really appreciate you tuning in. I'll see you on the next one. There are a lot of people out there talking about the infinite banking strategy and whether or not it makes sense for them.
To find out what it's all about and if it's a fit for you, visit controlandcompound.com/Andrew Hines, where my audience can gain exclusive access to books, podcasts, and webinars tailor-made for real estate investors. Are you interested in getting started in investing in the United States but not sure where to start? Why not attend the Investing in the U.S. Mastermind hosted by myself and Nick Van Dyke on March 4th, 2023. Nick and I will be covering topics ranging from A to Z, new construction, multifamily development, Airbnb, and much, much more, as well as the basics, including opening a bank account and understanding the proper corporate structure. We'll have several keynote speakers touching on very specific topics. And most importantly, you'll be sitting in a room with people who are highly focused and highly committed to investing in the United States. For more information, visit investingintheus.com and send me a DM on Instagram for a special discount code. I'll look forward to seeing you at the event.